Gonna make a video of my 95 Puma 340. It was a 340. I picked up a 94 Jag Z, which has the 440 with the dual carb for 50 bucks. And I transplanted basically everything out of that chassis. It was a junk chassis. It was basically rusted into oblivion. The whole front subframe was gone. It wasn't worth saving, but believe it or not, the engine was still good. And I ended up just putting new pistons, crank seals. It's basically a full rebuild. So new rings, pistons, gaskets, and the crank seals. So I had the whole thing apart and checked it out and rebuilt it. Honed the cylinders, everything came out good as far as that aspect. I used the throttle cables, the carbs. I had to pick up one carb boot. It was missing. The airbox. The clutch is from the part sled. Pretty much everything engine related. And then I put the stabilizer bar from the Z440 in there. It has the provisions for it. It has the tube going through the chassis. So I was able to unbolt it. All those bolts were stuck. I got them out without breaking anything and transplanted that assembly into there. And then I used the Jag hood, which for the most part is intact. There's a little crack here, but I think that's it. The nose cone was still intact, which if anyone knows anything about these, those are getting hard to find where they're not broken. Has a working tack. I grabbed a wire harness from that old Jag. So now it's got a working tack. I wired in the low oil light, which this didn't have that sensor there before. So this oil tank came from that old Jag 440Z with the sender and the whole wire harness. So it supports that low oil light. It's got the posistor in there. So when you start it up, the oil light comes on for a couple seconds and then dims out. I wired in the warmer light. The rest of the gauges work. And it's pretty cool having a tack on this thing now. I grabbed the roller secondary too. It had a secondary clutch with a roller mechanism on there rather than the slide button. So that was kind of a nice find too. What a terrific deal though. I got that sled, like I said, for 50 bucks. And the rebuild kit for the engine with the gaskets probably cost me about $170. So I don't know, I guess and I've sold some parts. I sold the track from that thing, I think for $30 I sold it for. Gave the guy a good deal on it. So I'm basically into this thing for like 200 bucks for this transition. Actually, I had to get a fuel pump, a dual outlet fuel pump. The original one looked wasted and it was so corroded. It may have still worked, but I didn't want to take any chances. So I ended up retrofitting that into there. I had to make some brackets to make it fit. I just took some aluminum strips and bent them and drilled some holes. Longer one on this side, a shorter one on this side, kind of offset them and mounted in there, twisted. But it doesn't interfere with anything. So now it's got a new universal 2-outlet fuel pump. This thing runs good. It idles perfect. It settles right down, the idle. I wired in the tether switch. The Jag had a tether switch, so I grabbed that from there. It was a pretty good find. This thing's going to be a lot of fun. That old 340 was good for 55 miles an hour most days. If you had a long enough stretch, you could get it up to 60, but that was about it. I anticipate that with this engine, is probably going to be more like 70 miles an hour if you want to push it, or faster even, which will be nice. You know, I'm not one for major speed, but when I'm riding with some of my buddies and they're leading, you know, hey, you got to keep up sometimes, or everyone's waiting for you at the next stop sign, it seems like. And if they want to go that fast, they can lead. That's fine. Let them clear the path. I don't go that fast when I lead. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to show it off kind of, and you know, it's a direct bolt-in. So this is for those guys wanting to maybe put a 440 in. And if you stick with the single carb unit, you can use all the same stuff that if you got your single throttle cable, the single airbox. It's a simple change. This was just a bit more involved with the dual carbs, but like I said, I was able to reuse everything: the oil line, the oil cable for the oil pump, and the dual cables. Everything came out really nice. One little trick too to keep these throttle cables from kinking, which they always seem to do coming right out of there. When you have it apart, I like to stick a piece of fuel hose over this. You find one that's a tight fit, and it keeps them from bending. And I think it might actually help seal it up, maybe prevent slight air leaks, which most likely isn't going to be a problem. But any air leaks, if you know anything about two-strokes, are kind of detrimental to the performance and the life of the engine itself. So just a little tip there. And then these two drains are just a hose that's looped down to the drain bowl. In the summertime, what I like to do is vent these down and just drain the gas into the belly pan, let it leak out, and that way the carbs are dry for storage, and you never have to worry about cleaning the carbs. They're bone dry and no chance for corrosion. So there you go.